The rain hammered against the windshield of Claire's old sedan as she squinted through the blur of wipers, struggling to keep up. The GPS on her phone had died miles ago, and now she was driving blind along a narrow, winding road that seemed to stretch endlessly into the darkness. She cursed under her breath, gripping the steering wheel tighter as lightning illuminated the dense forest surrounding her. Claire had left Chicago early that morning, eager to escape the suffocating weight of her recent breakup. Her plan was simple, a weekend getaway to clear her head, but somewhere between the wrong turn off the interstate and the torrential downpour, her journey had become less about relaxation and more about survival. Her headlights caught a flickering neon sign just ahead, the Hollow Inn. It buzzed faintly in the storm, its letters incomplete, but it was enough to make her heart leap with relief. She slowed the car and pulled into the gravel driveway, the tires crunching loudly in the silence between thunderclaps. The inn stood before her like something out of a faded postcard. Its wooden facade was weathered and gray, the paint peeling in long strips. A sagging porch wrapped around the building, adorned with rocking chairs that swayed slightly in the wind. Above the door hung an iron bell, rusted and unmoving. Despite its decrepit appearance, there was an odd charm to the place, a sense of history perhaps, or maybe just desperation clouding her judgment. She stepped out of the car, the cold rain soaking her instantly. Pulling her coat tighter around herself, she hurried up the creaking steps and pushed open the heavy oak door. Inside, the air was musty and warm, carrying the faint scent of lavender and mildew. A dim chandelier cast flickering shadows across the room, revealing faded floral wallpaper and mismatched furniture. The lobby looked frozen in time, untouched by modernity. Behind the front desk sat a man who seemed equally ancient. His name tag read Mr. Hargrove, though whether it was his first or last name remained unclear. He was thin, almost skeletal, with sunken eyes that glimmered beneath bushy eyebrows. His hands rested on a leather-bound ledger, fingers gnarled like tree roots. "Evening," he drawled, his voice low and gravelly. "You look like you've had quite the night." "You could say that," Claire replied, brushing wet strands of hair from her face. "Do you have any rooms available?" Mr. Hargrove gave her a slow, appraising look before nodding. "Room 6 is free. End of the hall, second floor, quiet, private." He slid a brass key across the counter. $50, cash only. Claire hesitated. Something about him made her skin crawl, but the thought of spending another minute in the storm outweighed her unease. She handed over the money and took the key. As she turned to leave, Mr. Hargrove called after her. "Mind the stairs. They're old, and don't wander too far after dark. Folks around here, well, let's just say they value their privacy." The hallway leading to room 6 was narrow and poorly lit, the carpet damp and threadbare beneath her feet. Each step creaked ominously, as if the house itself were protesting her presence. When she reached the door, she inserted the key and turned it slowly, half expecting it to jam. To her surprise, it clicked open smoothly. Inside, the room was surprisingly cozy, or at least as cozy as one could expect given the circumstances. A queen-size bed dominated the space, its quilt neatly folded at the foot. An antique dresser stood against one wall, its surface cluttered with knickknacks. A porcelain doll missing an eye, a cracked mirror, and a vase filled with dried flowers. A small window overlooked the forest, the glass streaked with raindrops. Claire dropped her bag onto the bed inside, running a hand through her damp hair. For all its quirks, the inn felt strangely comforting, She changed into dry clothes and decided to explore the building once the storm passed. Until then, she settled into the armchair by the window, pulling out her phone to check for service. No bars, of course. Hours later, the rain began to ease, replaced by the steady patter of drips from the eaves. Exhaustion finally caught up with her, and she crawled into bed, falling into a deep, dreamless sleep. Claire woke abruptly to the sound of footsteps outside her door. At first, she thought it was Mr. Hargrove making his rounds, but the steps were lighter, quicker. She sat up, straining to listen. Whoever it was paused briefly, then continued down the hall. Curiosity got the better of her. Throwing on her robe, she opened the door cautiously and peeked out. The figure at the end of the hallway was slight, clad in a hooded sweater that obscured their face. They disappeared around the corner without looking back. Something about the encounter unsettled her. She closed her door and locked it, though the action felt futile against whatever unease lingered in the air. Unable to shake the feeling, she decided to investigate further. Downstairs, the lobby was empty. Mr. Hargrove was nowhere to be seen, his ledger still open on the desk. The kitchen door swung slightly ajar, emitting a faint glow. Claire approached it cautiously, pushing the door open wider. Inside, she found a young woman seated at the table, sipping tea. She looked up as Claire entered, offering a tentative smile. "Hi," she said softly. "I didn't hear you come in." I saw someone walking upstairs earlier," Claire stammered. "Was that you?" The woman shook her head. "No, I've been here since yesterday. My name's Elena, by the way." "Claire," she hesitated, unsure how much to share. "Have you noticed anything strange about this place?" Elena's expression darkened. "Strange doesn't even begin to cover it. I was supposed to leave this morning, but my car won't start. And Mr. Hargrove, ... She trailed off, glancing toward the doorway nervously. "He watches you when you're not looking, like he knows something you don't." Before Claire could respond, the kitchen door slammed shut behind them. Startled, they both turned to see Mr. Hargrove standing in the doorway, his face impassive. "Ladies," he said evenly, "breakfast will be ready shortly. Best not to linger too long." Over the next few days, Claire grew increasingly convinced that something wasn't right about the Hollow Inn. Elena confided in her about hearing whispers late at night, voices that seemed to come from within the walls. Together, they began piecing together fragments of the inn's history, snippets overheard from Mr. Hargrove's muttered conversations, faded newspaper clippings tucked away in forgotten corners. They discovered that decades ago, the inn had been owned by a reclusive family named Graves. Tragedy struck when the youngest daughter vanished without a trace, sending the household spiraling into madness. Rumors circulated about secret rooms, hidden passages, and rituals meant to summon protection or vengeance. One evening, while exploring the attic, Claire stumbled upon a locked chest. Using a hairpin, she managed to pry it open, revealing a collection of journals belonging to the Graves family. As she flipped through the pages, a pattern emerged. References to the Hollow Ones, shadowy figures said to dwell in the forest, guarding the land against intruders. That night, Claire dreamed of the forest surrounding the inn. In her dream, she wandered among the trees, drawn by an unseen force. The air grew colder with each step until she reached a clearing where ghostly figures watched silently, their faces obscured by hoods. She woke screaming, drenched in sweat. Determined to leave, Claire and Elena devised a plan. They would sneak out during the dead of night, using the back entrance to avoid detection. But as they crept downstairs, they realized too late that Mr. Hargrove had been waiting for them. Leaving so soon, he asked, his tone eerily calm. Behind him, the shadows shifted unnaturally, taking on humanoid forms. The hollow ones won't take kindly to that. Panic surged through Claire as she grabbed Elena's hand and bolted for the door. They burst into the night, the forest looming menacingly before them. Behind them, the inn groaned and creaked as if alive. Mr. Hargrove stood on the porch, watching them go, his expression unreadable. Months later, Claire returned to Chicago, haunted by memories of the Hollow Inn. Though she tried to move on, she couldn't shake the feeling that the Hollow Ones were still watching, waiting for her to return. And sometimes, in the quiet moments before sleep, she swore she heard whispers calling her name,